We're all good. Are you still waiting for one more? Or? Oh,
She's here.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So yes, my name is Harrison, and this is my colleague Jake. We are coming from Zenith Consulting today to speak about the Tesla Motors case. Just quickly go through the agenda. We're going to be starting off with our current problem, moving into some market analysis, then following up with that with some insights and strategy, leading to our implementation, and finally our measures of success. Just starting off with a quick introduction to Tesla. Just want to draw some attention to the actual picture which we have here. Tesla has white floors on their actual machine shop floor. The reason why they have that is because they actually don't use any oil and gasoline, which means that on their floors they don't actually have to worry about there being any oil on the ground. This shows a number of things. This shows simplicity and their ability to actually use the things that they are best at in order to show their consumers why their product is better. And that's one of the major focuses of Tesla is their innovation through simplicity. So we're just basically talking about that today and how that's going to help them throughout this case. Just to start off with some of our problems. So our major problem we have right now is that on the NASDAQ, our stock is down 7%. Some of the root causes we've identified throughout the case is number one, we've had some PR issues regarding fires that have been going on with our cars. Second is the convenience behind Tesla Motors vehicles. They are electric. They need to be charged. They don't go as far as other regular vehicles. And we have to sort of approach those convenient issues as best as we can. And finally is that our investors. Our investors are not happy about this 7% decrease. They have been seeing increases in our stock value over the last few quarters, and now that they've seen this decrease, they're losing faith in us. And we want to make sure that we're maintaining the strong Tesla brand for our investors. So our competitors. We have two competitors here listed on the board, one being the Nissan Leaf, and on the right side there, we have a Mercedes-Benz E-Class, I believe. What you need to know about these two cars is on the left, we have a vehicle that is electric. It is our competitor in the sense that it is eco-friendly and that it is charged using an electric base, but it is much lower value. It's not a luxurious car. It does have some of the features that a Tesla motor vehicle has. And then on the right side, we have sort of an opposite. We have now a non-electric vehicle, but very luxurious, one that competes with us on its new tech. It's solid engineering. But something to note actually in these two vehicles is that in an actual combustion engine that goes into a Mercedes-Benz, many of these companies actually promote themselves in their performance through engineering. But those are actually very complicated. The simple way of which you move a car in a combustion engine, turning gasoline into actual combustion to move a vehicle, versus electricity, which simply takes an electrical motor to move the tires, actually speaks to the two different brands there. One is very simple in the way the actual car moves. So that's another thing we want to draw a note to as far as these two vehicles are concerned and the differences between the two vehicles. So I apologize for the small graphs here, but they of course aren't from us, they're from sources. But they're basically just speaking to why people buy electric vehicles. We wanted to sort of look into that. And actual number one factor, surprisingly to us, was not the environmental factors, not at all. People actually are, yes, concerned about environmental. It comes on number two in both California and the UK. This is a global product, so we did look globally. But the number one is actually the cash savings behind having an electric car. As you can see here, the cash savings behind a Tesla vehicle mean that your daily driving costs, driving about 80 kilometers a day, is about $3.74 in comparison to a high functionality vehicle such as Mercedes-Benz, which is about $13.36. This is super interesting because every electrical vehicle we've seen come out on the market is always talking about how it's so environmentally friendly. But yet one of the biggest things, one of the best things we can promote about this Tesla vehicle is the fact that it's super cost saving, no matter what the upfront cost is with the vehicle. So we wanted to quickly talk about our consumer here. So he's a middle manager to upper management, white collar, new age, and between the ages of 40 and 65. So actually we did look into Tesla's current sales, and 50.6% of their sales come from this age group. So very important. Now, yes, you're thinking, okay, an environmental car, again, an electric car. Doesn't that speak to the new age consumer? But unfortunately, because of the high upfront cost, we still have to focus on this baby boomer consumer market. So what are the baby boomers' values? Number one, they do value new technology. That was also surprising for us. They are willing to change if a technology brings what they actually need. They actually are iPhone lovers. Of all the different statistics, of all the different consumer markets, from 13-year-olds all the way to 70 plus, iPhones are only used more than Android by our target market of 45 to 65. Why is that? What do iPhones bring? iPhones bring simplicity, ease of use, good, well-made products. Not like Android, which are, yes, maybe more technology, maybe a little bit more technology advanced, but they're very complicated, and the actual product of which is used in making it isn't as good quality. So something definitely to note between the two things there. And the final thing is their high concern of views of others. They are willing to adopt new technologies, like we said, and they are willing to go with the flow. And since we are seeing a high number of electric vehicles coming out, something else to definitely know. So simply taking us all that information into our major insight of this case, which is electric vehicles are environmentally friendly, Tesla motor vehicles are much more. Simply marketing off of the fact they're an environmentally friendly product is not going to be enough. We have to start leveraging the other values that come with Tesla motors, because electricity, just as a single promotional model, does not just speak to our target market, which is leading us into our strategy statement. Increase company value by branding Tesla as approachable for customers, despite being one of the most technologically advanced vehicles on the market. And our tagline, of course, at the bottom there is innovation through simplicity. So again, taking in all of the research, all of the major things of which are behind the Tesla brand, and putting it into one statement, of which will fuel all of our implementation, of which Jake will take us through in the next few slides.
Thanks, Harrison. So this is a 3-phase plan, and it's just executing over the next year. So over the next 3 months, what we're doing is getting our affairs in order, since we've had a rough 2013, and we're just going to finish up this quarter and then look to implement this plan. So just looking at phase 1, starting in January to March, luncheon-style test drives. So I'm not going to go very in-depth right now, but I will in the later slides. But phase 2 is in-store virtual simulations, and lastly, executive experiential event. So each of these phases is key because it feeds into the other, and it's reinforcing our strategy, making Tesla Motors very accessible and approachable for our consumer. We know that they are willing to adapt technology, but since it is still new and it's so innovative, it takes a little bit of a learning curve in order to get up to speed with what we're providing. A lot of customers are worried about how it's actually going to go about when they have to charge their vehicle. Where are these stations even located? What's the implications of a battery? How long does it last? All these questions of which we want the consumer to be informed about so that it can be more approachable. Yes, environmental aspects are important, and that will come out through much of these tactics, but actually getting our experts in front of our target market is really going to be the most effective aspect. So if I could go more in depth on luncheon style. So with the test drives, what we're trying to do here is actually allow a person who's a top-level executive to have a specialist come out to them at their place of work, take them out for lunch, and they actually get to drive the car. The reason that this is important is because it's a low period for traffic where high-level executives working in metropolitan areas can actually get a solid test drive in where they're not just sitting in traffic. And then, of course, they're arriving in style because they get to try out the car. The beauty of actually going with a specialist is that they can actually sit down for lunch and sort of have a consultation where they can learn more about the car throughout the process. So this is a very important one and a really easy one to implement during our first phase. So with this, we are targeting high-level executives who will, of course, create word of mouth and advocacy for the Tesla brand. This hopefully will kickstart that word of mouth that we're looking for in terms of advertising. Tesla does not actually do traditional advertising like most other car brands, so this speaks to their current style in terms of promotional tactics. Looking at phase 2 in March. So in-store, virtual simulations. So we actually want to develop a virtual experience for those people who can't actually get out and do the test drives with the cars. So developing systems that will show how much you're saving, cost savings each day, as Harrison showed you, showing your environmental savings on the carbon footprint, showing what the actual visual aspect looks like inside the car. We want this to be a very real experience, and we want to leverage the galleries that Tesla actually has. Very few car manufacturers, actually zero car manufacturers, actually have a direct factory cell model where they're going right to the customers, and this is something that Tesla has as a value add. So we want to leverage that by allowing our galleries to be taken to the next level. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. And again, it's reinforcing the strategy of making it approachable for consumers and showing off the tech and all of the value adds of Tesla. Lastly, going into phase 3, this is in April. So this is an experiential event, and again, we want to target those upper-level executives who do have the funds to buy these cars and who are going to create that advocacy and word of mouth for our brand. So this is going to be a crash test and a course run-through simulation. So inviting these executives to this event, they can essentially watch and see the usability and utility of the car. So having a really thematic event with a very in-depth course that takes them through different challenges and obstacles, different conditions, showing off the utility of the car, and again, making it more approachable. With this, we can actually have a promotional tactic where our executives have a chance to actually ride through the course, and that will just create further buzz towards the event. And then lastly, we actually want to show the safety of the car. Since fires have been an issue with the car, we need to reinforce that, because in 2013 we won the award for our Model S car as being the safest car on the market. So we need to reinforce that in spite of these fires. Given the fact that this is the third phase, by that time we hope to actually have developed a logical reason for why these fires have occurred, other than just metal puncturing the engine. So at that time, we were just thinking that in phase 3, it's the ideal time to sort of reinforce again why safety is so important in this car. And what better way to do that than through a crash test simulation? So that is our 3 phases. And now I will take you through some future considerations. Since this just is a year plan, we also need to look forward into Tesla's further success. So currently, you have to recharge your battery, and some consumers point that to a lack of convenience. But with further innovation, we can actually replace the battery directly as opposed to having to charge your car. So this is a consideration that we would like to see Tesla further pursue in their R&D as well. We want to release all information regarding, currently Tesla is releasing all information regarding their production capabilities and technologies. It's very public information, and the reason that they're doing that is because they want other competitors to bring in their customers to the electric market. So it's making it more convenient for them in the long run, and currently they're partnered up with Toyota and Mercedes, and we can only assume that that's going to continue to happen, and we encourage it because it's getting people more comfortable with the idea of electric cars. So some risks and mitigation. So the crash test drive, of course, there's risks with doing any form of crash test. There would not be an actual individual during that portion. It would be a dummy, as crash tests are usually conducted, but this is an interesting way of doing it because consumers will actually get to see it firsthand in person and just have a waiver signed, and there should be no issues there. The target market may not be reactive to the new technology, but traditional and non-traditional methods are used throughout our phases, so we figured that is suitable to counter that. And then risks, in-store activity drop. The simulation is also available online, and it currently is available online, but we're just bringing it to the in-store format so that consumers are aware of its existence, but they do have online to fall back on if they aren't making it in-store. So some key performance indicators. We want to know how many people are signing up for the test drives online, how many people are actually following through on the test drives and going to that consultation during lunch, and then simulations in store on the actual systems, and then lastly, attendees for the experiential event that we're executing. So a budget breakdown. Phase 1, we have online registration. That's just actually programming the online system where customers go online, say, I want to pursue a test drive. We actually have to hire test drive specialists, and they'll actually be hired out of our 41 galleries. So it's just increasing the labor force there by 1 at each store. And then you can see a budget breakdown there of how we got to those numbers. In phase 2, we actually have to develop the virtual technology and then actually pay for the units, and we're gonna have 1 at each store essentially. And then in phase 3, we have the course development. Like I said, we want it to be very thematic. We want it to be an awesome experience for the people who are attending the event, and we actually have to pay for the car that we're crashing as well. And then lastly, online promotion. Without awareness for the event, no one will actually show up. And with that, total expenses hit $5.65 million. So in closing, the stock price is down, yes, but Tesla has so much to look forward to. With their environmental concern, that's the entire basis of their company, but we know that they have so much more to bring forward. They have technological advances that no other competitors can actually compete with. They have a design that's unlike no other. It's so luxurious, It combats all the different areas that consumers in the high-end market are looking for. And with the fires, with the cars, we've made it more approachable by seeking out safety measures in the next coming months to actually prepare and develop a reason for why these fires are starting. And then we're also using crash test as an opportunity to reinstate ourselves as one of the safest cars out there. And then lastly, convenience and approachable technology. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to make it approachable for consumers who don't have the time to learn about why Tesla electric cars are so powerful and yet so simplistic and approachable. So with that, I'd like to conclude and open up the floor to questions.
By the way, can you go back to the implementation plan? Alright, so it's a short implementation plan, 4 months. I was just wondering how long.
Oh, it's actually 1 year, so
1 year?
yeah, so it's April until the end of 2014.
Yeah. Alright, even with that being said, how are you gonna reach out to these customers? You said their target customers are 40 odd plus.
Yep.
And you talked about doing online promotion. How are we getting out to these customers? So I like the idea, but it's just how are we gonna get them into the store to do all this?
For sure. So one of the things which we noted along with our target market was that the people of whom are actually buying Tesla Motors cars right now, I believe 77% of their consumer market has an average salary of over $109,000 per year. So with that, we're looking obviously at a lot of upper management, a lot of companies that do have a higher salary, so with the jobs that they offer. So we would actually be going out and contacting those companies one-on-one to begin with, because the offer which we're giving, not to mention, I mean, these people don't need a free lunch, they have a high income, but the ability to have, someone else drive with you through a Tesla Motors car, being able to take that to work, pull up with it, show all your friends, though that type of pull is what we're hoping we can talk to the company and say, if you're interested in this, we'd like to know, who in your company might be interested in this, and we'd love to work with them in order just to get, it's not a sales tactic to say we want to show you a product and you can sell it. We actually want to just show you the technology and show what we brought and actually try to actually grow organically from there and get those people to start talking to their networks as well.
Just to kind of go along with what you were just saying, so included in that, would that also be like company cars? So the company would buy the car for the use of like outside sales reps, for example? Is that what you're talking about, or?
Not in particularly right now. That's not a thought that we had in our presentation. I think that is another good option. I think the upfront cost of the vehicle, just the fact that it does, their lowest model costs $98,000 upfront, would mean that would be a tough investment unless the company has the kind of cash that they know, okay, upfront I can buy a certain amount of these vehicles, and then I know that over time I'm making that money back through the savings on electricity. But that just because of the high upfront cost, that wasn't something we felt we wanted to put money into as far as a marketing tactic right now, but possibly something if we get these cars more ingrained within these larger companies, for sure.
Awesome.
Actually, I'm going to start with a statement. I loved your insight, by the way. That was really well done. And then you talked about the iPhone, and we have a team member, one of the vice presidents, and I got really excited. I thought you were gonna make a tie in between Tesla and Apple, and like drive my car with an app type of thing.
Oh.
So you left me hanging with the iPhone.
That's what we meant.
But having said that, on this slide, so maybe I'm continuing a little bit. My biggest concern is the luncheon style plan. So you're setting your target at executives, and two things about executives that I've learned is, number one, they don't take lunch. They're not off from 12 to 1. They're working. They're even in the office. Secondly, a lot of times they have a company car. So that concerned me. So let's say I'm right, and you launch into phase 1 and it falls flat because your target market it didn't hit with them. Do you have a contingency plan, or posed differently, will that hurt phase 2 and phase 3?
I think for sure that if we just followed through that plan and we had risks and things happened that went wrong, we did nothing, that it definitely would hurt our other two phases. They do depend on that first phase going well. But what I would say is that if these upper executives, as you're saying, maybe are not as open and are not taking this opportunity as, oh, this is a special event just for me, and I'm going to take this one lunch and just do it. If they don't see it as that, of course, this, like we said in the beginning, this is not directly to drive sales necessarily. This is to create organic growth, and for that organic growth to create sales. So if we had to necessarily say, okay, maybe our managers that are $120,000 in salary up, they don't take lunch, or they have lunch and they, call their wife, whatever, because they're never home, or whatever it is, we would move down to a lower level of manager that maybe is not at our current salary. But again, if we're just encouraging that organic growth, we will begin to reach that market again through that organic growth.
And then just to add on the second part of your question, we know that they may not be taking lunches, so we actually had discussed doing it on weekends specifically, just because that's when they would be more open to giving some of their time. And if they do have a company car, then we don't really have a market. We know that these individuals in the baby boomer generation are purchasers 51% of the time for the cars, so we can only assume that maybe it's a personal car on top of the company car.
Good, thank you.
Question over here. So a lot of the issues that Tesla's facing in this situation deal with how people perceive the vehicle and how their promotion is going about. But do you also think, other than promotion, that you need to look at product development because of the issues with batteries and things like that? And why didn't you give as much consideration to that? Understanding that it's a marketing issue, but marketing, the issues stemming from the product itself in certain angles.
Yeah, so actually I think noted near the end of the case, they actually posed the question of, is this a PR issue, or is this a marketing issue, or whatnot? And actually just above that was the quote by Elon Musk saying that that there are actually far less, crashes that have ended in injury or death in a Model S. There's actually none versus a combustion engine. I think it's just the fact that because it's an electric engine, and the fact was that the electric engine in and of itself is the fact that caused the fire, that people are like, oh, well, electricity caused the fire, versus the fact that in a combustion engine, which has gas, which can explode if lit on fire, they can go, well, it's a gas car, but since we're used to that, people aren't referring to that. So I think that's actually, the answer to that question would be that it's a PR problem, that we would have to, in our strategy, we did not ignore that. We went through the test drives to sort of combat that, but we actually would want to downplay this thought of that the electric car is to blame there. Just like Elon Musk was saying there, that it's actually not the electrical engine that's to blame there, it's actually the speed of the car, and that any other car would have had the same result, if a worse result, if it was just a regular combustion engine.
Good answer.